Okay, so let us begin with conium from Alan's keynotes, and we are live simultaneously on Instagram and YouTube. Good evening, Rishabh, and you are a regular viewer of all the Alan's keynotes sessions. So I hope it is helping you to understand, and if you are learning and studying it along, it's going to help you a lot in your practice and something that is going to build a strong foundation for you in the long term is something that is Allen, Borick, Clark, Nash, Tyler, all these books which we often read only once and forget them, but they are the ones that are going to lay a strong foundation for building our pillars of homeopathy. Let us begin with Konayam. The first line says that especially for diseases of old men, old maids, old bachelors with rigid muscular fiber, persons with light hair who are easily excited, strong persons of sedentary habits. So you have someone who is like Nakswamika state, allo state, sedentary habits, not moving much around, but an old person who can be debilitated, who can be weak, who cannot have the energy to do various stuff. Those are the people for whom we should think specific remedies. We have discussed this multiple times about what age groups, and if you have old patients, geriatric patients in your clinics, you should directly land into thinking about these remedies. Baraita Carb is one of the remedies, Baraita Mure. So these remedies will by default occupy a place for conditions of people who are suffering from such conditions which are typically suited or typically found in the old age. Let us go and see what does conium have in Allen's keynotes. Cancerous and scrofulous persons with enlarged glands and rigid fiber. No inclination for business or study, indolent, indifferent, takes no interest in anything. So, someone who is tired with the world, someone who has seen it all, done it all, been there, done there, and he now says that it's enough, I have had enough of everything, and now goes into his own shell. He will give you those words, but it's not actually the calcarea shell which you should take into account or take into consideration, but it can be conium based upon the conditions, the induration of glands, the person who is moving very less, bowels are not clear, there are glandular affections, and there are diseases which are localized in one organ for a long time. That should be conium for you, my dear friends. Memory is weak, unable to sustain any mental effort. Morose, easily vexed, domineering, quarrelsome, scolds, will not bear contradiction. So I already told you in the first sentence itself when I started. Someone who is like Nat Swamika, when a person is sedentary, you have to understand that he will and definitely be quarrelsome. He will be someone who is very much contradictory and very much rebellious in nature because he does not have the freedom of exploring his body in various dimensions. He is seeing himself only in one dimension, that is the sedentary work. Either it can be a retirement after a job, or it can be that he does not want to do anything because of many circumstances. So he'll become morose, he'll become easily vexed, he'll become dominating, he will become quarrelsome, he'll be scolding, and excitement of any kind will cause mental depression. He dreads being alone, yet he avoids the society. So there will be a dual state. You will see he wants people, but he also wants to stay alone. And this is the same state of Kalikab and Lycopodium, which you will see many times in old age, and that is where you should differentiate based upon the complaints which are present. Conium, glandular affections, Kalikab, muscular and joint related, Lycopodium gastric. You can go into the nitty gritties of the case and repertorize and find out if lyco may probably fit the glandular affections also, but there will be rare chances. If at all there is a chance, you will have to see it through and through from the different books and plan it out correctly. Next you have for conium, balm of Gilead for diseases of old maids and women during and after climatic. So we saw that in the climatic period many affections take seat in the females. It can be hemorrhoids, it can be the unusual hormonal imbalances, flushes. We saw that in graphitis, we saw that in sulfur. Sepia is another remedy, natramine is another remedy. Along with that, we should give a thought to conium, which is like a balm of Gilead, which means that it's a phrase actually which comes from ancient times, where this is the remedy for all the ills suffered by women of this age, where it is during and climatic which is affecting them the most. Debility of old people, and then there is a comma or semicolon and mention that complaints that are caused by blow or fall. So many times old patients who will keep on falling, will keep on getting hurt, will keep on getting injuring themselves, they will need this remedy without giving a thought, without thinking about arnica or rustox or belisper. You should first think of conium, especially if the age group is above 50-55. Next is one of the very peculiar symptoms, and you will find it very frequently and very commonly in your clinics, in your patients, in the bedside examination as well. Sweat day and night as soon as one sleeps or even when closing eyes. The remedy, another remedy mentioned is China, and one of the remedies that we are reading is conium. So conium as a remedy will have sweat day and night and as soon as one sleeps or even when closing the eyes. So every time there is lot of sweating like a calcarea carp person, but not, you cannot take that he is slow and sluggish like calcarea, but rather on the mind he is like nux vomica, on the physicals he is like calcarea carp. Vertigo, especially when lying down, when he turns in the bed there is an aggravation. Moving the head slightly or even the eyes, must keep head perfectly still. So there will be many patients who will tell you that as soon as I turn in the bed all my complaints start, and then throughout the day the complaints are there. That is conium for you. You can apply this turning in bed or turning modality in all the different categories of the problems or diseases of conium at various levels. It can start from head, vertigo, neck problems, chest problems, gastric troubles, it can be backache, it can be conium at many levels of its presentation. Especially conium's troubles start when they turn towards the left side. Colocynth is another remedy. Conium will also be indicated in old people, of course, we are seeing that from the beginning. But when there is vertigo associated with ovarian and uterine complaints. Next, you have one of the most underused areas where we will see conium not prescribed, but we should prescribe is in the complaints of eyes. Aversion to light without inflammation of eyes, worse from using light in artificial eyes in artificial light. Often the student's remedy for night work, intense photophobia, and the other remedy given is sorinum. So all those patients which require, to study under lights, under the focus lights, or they have the headlamps in the lights when studying, then you should think of conium as one of the top remedies. So Lisa Rohra, you have one question. You can drop in your questions. I will definitely answer it as soon as we end. It's just more than 5-7 minutes of the session which is there. So I'll definitely answer your questions. Let me finish the flow of thought and I will definitely give you a very good answer. So conium can be thought in cases of complaints where there is less inflammation of eyes. We have seen inflammation of eyes in belladonna, we have seen inflammation of eyes in many other eye complaints, eye cases, but conium will be indicated in cases where there is lack of inflammation, and just aggravation from light is one of the key indications. You will see this presence, this symptom which is strongly present in cataract, in different types of asthenopia, myopia, strabismus, etc., etc., where there is not much pathological changes done, but the aggravation from light is there, or the patient is required to be in the artificial light for a long time. It can be closed indoor work, it can be an old person who does not move out, does not go out, and is required to study, or there is a patient whom I am now treating, and he was for a long time with me, and he still is almost like now 20, 10 years, and he is not moving much out, but he wants to read the newspaper from the first page to the last page. You say it's cover to cover reading, and he does this always in the house, in the light which is artificial light, and he has developed eye troubles. I have started him on conium, and that's where the improvement is seen. That's how you should treat all such patients. Next you have is cough in spasmodic paroxysms caused by a dry spot in the larynx. If it is in the throat, it is sinusinuga. Practically speaking, patients will not be able to tell you whether it is there in the throat or in the larynx. It is you who have to figure out. It's very tough to ask the patients and tell them to figure out. So you have to take this symptom with a pinch of salt. You can memorize it for academic purpose, but for practical purpose it's not going to be much helpful. But what is helpful is there is spasmodic cough which is there with itching in the chest and in the throat and the chest, and it is worse at night when lying down. Especially females who are pregnant, they develop such coughs. They can be given conium. Other remedy which you should think of in dry cough, especially in pregnancy, is Rumex. Over here, the other two remedies given are causticum and calibrom for such cough during pregnancy. Next you have is great difficulty in voiding the urine, flow intermits, then flows again, prostatic or uterine affections. So all those cases who have fibroids in females, and in males there is prostate causing urinary troubles, urinary difficulty, you should give a thought to conium, and it is going to help you in such conditions where there is flow which is passing for a short time, stopping and then passing again. Next you have is glandular affections, especially glandular induration of stony hardness of mammary in persons of cancerous tendencies and after bruises or injuries to glands, and we have to compare this with Asteria rubens. So we saw this in iodum as well, that there is stony hardness, induration, growth is restricted, we spoke about it, and in thyroidinum yesterday we spoke that the growth is excessive. In conium the growth has happened, but now the organ has started hardening, which is causing problem for the surrounding tissues. They are hardened, and if it is caused by injuries, it is more so a very good state for conium to prescribe. Next you have is breasts which are sore, hard, painful during and before and during menstruation. Lac can Kali cover mentioned, but there are a host of remedies which have these symptoms, especially the magnesiums and the lac group. All the magnesiums and lac groups will have all the troubles in the chest region before and during menses. Conium is kind of an odd man out, and you can think of this remedy when the history of the patient, when the patient has told that in my past when the periods were there used to be chest troubles before and during menses. That's where you can think of. Menses are feeble, suppressed, too late, scanty, of short duration, with rash of small red pimples over the body which cease with the flow. Dulcamara is another remedy, and they are stopped by taking cold. Especially they are also stopped or brought on by putting hands in cold water. Lac defloritum is the other remedy. So these are the minor changes which you will need to figure out when asking patients which are troubled with menstrual related disorders. Leucora is there mostly after menses, 10 days after menses. Borax and Bovist are top remedies which are mentioned. There is acridity, bloodiness, milkiness, and profuse secretions, which is thick and it kind of does not flow profusely, it kind of flows in intermittent ways. Next, you have is bad effects from suppressed sexual desire or suppressed menses, non gratification of sexual instinct, or from excessive indulgence. There is not a balance. Either there is lack of it or excessive, which is troubling. Either case, there can be conium will be the best remedy to suit such patients. Next, you also have in the male sexual system stony hardness, induration of the testicles. Conium will be a remedy which is very good if there is more aggravation at night, lying down, turning, or rising up in bed. Celibacy is also an aggravating factor, or you can say it's a kind of a positive factor. Patients requiring conium often improve from wine or stimulants, although patients who are susceptible to conium cannot take wine alcoholic stimulants when in health. So this is a kind of contradictory statement. I've never found it so precisely indicated in clinics, but if I get a chance to explain it in somehow at a later point of time, do stay tuned to find this. You can compare conium with arnica rust ox in contusions and arsenic and asteria rubens in cancers, calcarea carb and sorinum in glandular affections. And in sorinum, you can find its kind of a comparison relationship, especially if it is of mammary, the cancerous or threatened malignancies there, especially of the mammary glands. So we come to an end of conium. To summarize, it will be indicated in patients who are of a nux vomica, mentality, but calcarea carb physical as a physical, ailment, and there is everything that is physically seen from the calcarea point of view. The mind will be more of a nux vomica or kind of a sepia, which is indifferent and aloof from the entire society and mankind. And there will be one of the very key indications, aggravations, which is turning in the bed, which aggravates the patients. And then you have all the glandular affections, which is causing all the problems or the origin of problem from where it starts. So that's the end of today's session with the remedy conium, a very good remedy, especially in old age, geriatric complaints. We have seen other geriatric remedies like ethuza, opium. We have seen also all the other remedies, abrotanum and sulfur also can be thought, opium can be thought, but conium can Baraitacab is one of the remedy. Conium is one of the remedies you should keep in your mind when geriatric patients are seen. Coming to an end, we answer one of the questions today, which is patient having complaint of redness and pain in one eye. Which drop we can suggest urgently? Want to prescribe something for relief. So number one thing, and this is question of Lisa Rora. I would like to answer this very beautifully. If you are watching this, you will learn something from my experience. This is my contribution. One of the things when you see such patient which is having only one-sided affection, you should know which remedies act on the body on the one side. Pulsatilla is one such remedy. So my first choice would be pulsatilla. But if the redness and pain is defined by some modalities, or the pain especially, the redness is like a constant symptom, but the pain, if it is defined by some modalities, we can think of maybe remedies like euphrasia, allium cepa, or even gelsemium. Next is, what is the weather where you are staying in currently? It can be damp and very moist and humid. In such cases, one-sided complaints, damp weather and pain in one eye, you can think of Mercor or Mercsol. So these are the possibilities which I would think in such a case, according to the history available, it can be something more, but this is what we can go ahead with. If it is found helpful to you, do prescribe and let me know in my message how it is helping you. And maybe it's a good chance and good idea to begin with what I had earlier also started, something which is helpful for all the practitioners, and that is an question and answer session. And maybe in a day or two you will see the notification of when we can do this question and answer, so that your questions are answered in the right way. From my best experience, you can take it ahead if you wish to take it. So that's all from today's session, and stay tuned for the next happening things on my YouTube channel or Instagram page and Facebook page as well.